Okay, so I went ahead and removed that top hose there, and I just stuck it back up here for now, and it's actually not draining out. Okay, what I'm using here is an 18 millimeter, and I'm just going to take this thing completely off. Okay, so I went ahead and I got that this out, and I've just laid it over here to the side. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. Having to use my breaker bar here. These things are so tight, and I'm just going to go ahead and remove this final bolt here. Okay, since I had removed all of the bolts and hoses, I just went ahead and took the power steering pump completely out of the way. I'm just going to set it aside for now. Okay, with the power steering pump out of the way, I was actually able to get to this passenger side heater hose. You can see it down there marked 18. I just took that loose. Okay, now I've just moved over here and removed this driver's side heater hose right here from the engine. See it marked 19. There's a plastic clip you just squeeze on both sides. I'm surprised I didn't break it, but it held up. You just squeeze as hard as you can and it just pulls right off over these little tabs. Okay, so now I'm just working on disconnecting this AC compressor, and I'm just using my little 10 millimeter ratchet wrench. If you don't have any of these, they're definitely well worth the money. The first hard to get to spot I had, it paid for itself pretty much, but I believe there is 2 on top and 2 on bottom. So like I said, right now just using my 10 millimeter, I'm going to work on getting these 4 bolts and getting these 2 off the top here first. Okay, I just wanted to show you these bottom 2 here that I just took loose. Got one here and then one right here. And again, I just used my little 10 millimeter ratchet wrench to take those loose. And I've not even raised the van up. I'm doing this all with it simply on the tires right now. When it gets to where I have to get the other stuff, I'll use my jack and maybe put some blocks or something later, but for right now, I haven't had to use that. Now, you'll definitely want to get yourself some cat litter if you're working in a garage like this. These things will just drip coolant and stuff for days, so it's going to get a little messy. Nothing you can do about it. Just get you some cat litter and it usually soaks it right up, no problem. Okay, so I just removed this long bracket bolt. See on this bracket right here, that was the last thing holding that AC compressor. And you want to make particular, or pay attention to where those brackets go and mark them and stuff so you don't get them confused or forget about them. So I've got all the bolts, top and bottom of the air compressor, and I take that bracket loose, so that should be everything for that. And now I'm just going to start looking around here and see what I've forgotten from up top and just kind of go from there. Okay, I realized a few things here. Even with getting everything loose, I'm not going to have enough room in between here and this frame. So what I'm going to have to do is remove some more of this stuff, because even when I take this loose from the transmission, I'm going to have to be able to slide it over enough to get it out. So what I'm going to do next is go ahead and remove this alternator, and then I'm probably going to remove some of these other pulleys and the water pump. But right now I'm going to work on getting this alternator out first. Okay, and these right here are a 15 millimeter. Once you get those bolts removed, you got a connector right here that you'll need to remove. You just push in on this right here. Mine broke, but you know, it's what I said, they're brittle and sometimes you just can't avoid it. Next thing we're going to remove is this little idler pulley. It's a 15 millimeter. You'll want to use a wrench or a ratchet wrench. Also, I got taking these off, and I've got the alternator off. You want to make sure to put your bolts, if you can, right in the holes where they go so you're not getting them mixed up. See how I have them for the power steering and the alternator. just so you don't get them lost or mixed up. Okay, we got that idler pulley off and marked. The next thing we're going to be removing is this entire water pump. Imagine I'm going to have to remove this pulley here first before I can get to the other bolts. Okay, these first three right here, I've just used my little 10mm ratchet wrench. Got another one right there. And then right here, these are 10mm. So I'm just going to go ahead and take these first three out. Okay, and working our way down, there's a bracket here as well. This bolt here is a 13, and the one I'm on down below this is a 15. And some of these are pretty torqued down pretty tight. If you can't get a big ratchet, I've got a little ratchet in some places. I'll just use a little bar to help out. Okay, so I'm just working myself down this bracket that holds this whole water pump housing and hose unit on. If you can kind of see these bolts, and this all has to come loose in order to get this water pump loose. So, and you'll notice I'm just leaving the bolts. I've got them loose. I'm leaving them in there because I'm going to mark them as to where they came from here. So I'm just going to keep working my way down and get the rest of them out of this bracket, and then I'm going to move to the other side and get the rest out of the water pump that I can reach. Right now I'm just removing these long bolts that go in this bracket here and here. I'm just kind of marking them as I go, but I'm going to go ahead and just take this piece completely out because it's going to be in the way. Okay, after I got that bracket out, I went ahead and removed this AC connector from the compressor there. And if you're doing a water pump, this gives you an idea of the stuff you're going to have to remove to get this off of here. Now I've got all these bolts. Let's say these are like 10mm. I got over here, there was some I believe 15mm or 13mm nuts, and you just kind of have to swap. Some of these are 15 and some of them are 13. And I've got the bolt off down here. So now I'm going to go to the other side here. Looks like I need to go ahead and remove this right here. I'm going to go ahead and remove this connector, and then I'm going to get this bolt holding this this hose that's running to this. This hose clamp thing here I'm removing is an 8mm. Okay, and right back here we also have another 8mm clamp bolt that has to be removed. When you go to remove this up and out of here, it's got an O-ring. Just get yourself a pry bar. Try to go as straight up as you can as possible so you don't kind of booger it up and dent it and stuff. But I'm going to need both hands, looks like, to finish getting it here. But anyways, it just will come up and out of there. There we go. These down here I'm removing in the back. I'm just going to start on those, and these are 15mm. Okay, now I've removed this tire over here so I can get in here, and I'm going to get this pulley off. Crank pulley, I'm just going to remove this little flap right here before I do that. Okay, I'm going to be removing this pulley. This is a 13/16 bolt. Now here I'm going to be having to use a pneumatic. The only other way you could do it without one, but you'd have to hold this steel somehow. Now the other way, to go about getting this out of here is simply removing the engine and the transmission together. And sometimes I've done that, but it's easier. But I've started down this road, so I'm just going to keep going this way. Okay, now actually I had to switch over to my big pneumatic gun. My smaller one just wasn't going to cut it. And if you don't have a big one like this, you're going to have to figure out how to hold that pulley still to get that loose. There's just a lot of torque on it. So I'm going to go ahead and get this bolt out, and then I'm gonna get this puller set up. Okay, I just wanted to show you what type of puller I'm using here. You've got these 3 threaded holes that go into that crank pulley. So what I've determined is I've got like some 2-inch bolts that'll fit that. I'm not sure on the size, but you'll notice I also have this extra thick heavy-duty washer that I'm using just to prevent those things from trying to pull through. But yeah, I like a 2-inch. Should be the perfect size. And I'm going to go ahead and get this all put on here, and then I'll show you how this works from here. Okay, this puller has this little piece here that goes on the end, and that's going to center up in that right there. Just keeps from damaging it and keeps it centered. Okay, right here I've just got a 3/4 attached to this, and I've got that thing on there, and the bolts tightened in about 1 inch or so. And I'm just going to use my pneumatic here. You can use a ratchet, but it's easier to use the pneumatic. I'm just fixing to take this thing completely off. Okay, I wanted to show everybody this. Even after getting this pulley pulled loose, I didn't realize, but there's not enough room in between the pulley and the frame here to slide it off. So I'm gonna have to change directions and do something different. The only way I could figure was maybe dropping the frame here or doing something else, but more than likely what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wind up taking the transmission out as well. But while I was at it, I wanted to go ahead and see if this water pump could be removed or not without you know, drastic measures. And I was actually able to get the water pump itself. I had to take this piece loose. There is 2 more bolts on the bottom. There's one on this side, and there's one down below down on this side over here. And let me reposition my light. But there's one down on this side, down under here. You can't see it, but I was able to get a small ratchet under there and get to those. And right now I'm going to attempt to get this off of here. I don't know if I'm going to have room to even do this, but the only thing else I can figure is that you have to go about lifting the engine some to get these water pumps. I just couldn't see them being so hard to get at. But then again, I remembered this is Ford, and you know, a lot of their stuff is this way. I mean, you pretty much have to lift the body off the frame to work on anything. So anyways, I'll follow up from here.